Hello, good evening. This is Amelia with my session on Sundays with Amelia. And this is the first session in this month of August. And this is Sunday, August the 11th. I'm very pleased to share with you some of the things that has been happening in the Amelia for Georgia campaign, as well as to look forward to the coming weeks and months. We are approximately 86 days away from the election day in November the 5th. Not long now, and we will be in November. What has been happening in the Amelia for Georgia campaign? We have participated in a number of events. We were in Danudi in July, and we also had a meet and greet at the Golden Drops in Decatur. And we've also been canvassing and talking to different members of the society and communities in Senate District 40. Having said that, I'd really like to say thank you. Thank you to many of you who have reached out via email, social media, and also through calls with words of encouragement and also support. I really appreciate your support, your donation, and willingness to give to the Amelia for Georgia campaign. Let me just remind ourselves, of course, who is Senate District 40. Senate District 40 comprises of Brookhaven, Chambly, Doraville, Danudi, and portions of Peachtree Corners in the Gwinnett County. I've also had the privilege of participating in some of the events in the Gwinnett County, which were hosted by the Gwinnett GOP, and I really appreciate that inclusion of my candidacy in these events. Well, today, there's been many things happening. You know, you'd be following the media, all the campaigns at national or federal level, but let's just remain focused here in our state of Georgia, in the local environment and what's been happening. But before I go on to some of the questions that I have received via email, let me just read two quotes that I'd like to begin this evening's session with. And one of those is, it reads, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We did not pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same." That's a quote from the late President Ronald Reagan. I'd also like to read one more of his. "There are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. We must have the courage to do what we know is morally right." There are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. We must have the courage to do what we know is morally right. I'm sure many of you have read or have heard President Ronald Reagan with these quotes. And I say that this evening because at this point of the campaign and the road to victory in November 5th, something that is well known or coming through over and over again is that communities feel that we are so divided that we are being split apart. So, in other words, is there a societal breakdown? Having said that, it is important that we reflect because I believe we are quite at a perilous point. And if we allow those things that our ancestors, previous generations have built, we must defend those. I alluded to my platform right in the very beginning, back in March and April. My platform as a Christian is based on Christian values and American shared values of liberty, freedom, equality, and opportunities for all. and based on using our common senses to work hard, to self-improve, and to have a better life. At this point, if we don't do things the right way, ethically and spiritually, we will continue to decline as a state and as a country. Remember, one thing is that I always remember, our country, the United States, are envied by most of the world. And it's one of the reasons why people want to come here. So at this point in terms of the campaign, 3 things have emerged as popular issues amongst the communities in Senate District 40. As well, it is also a reflection of what is becoming popular issues or concerns at the national level. 1, inflation. Inflation continues to drive the conversations in the state of Georgia, and especially as I continue to canvass and knock on doors, speaking to voters, the inflation and the implications and impact of inflations in our ordinary families is significant. I think I've spoken about this 2 months or 3 months ago about what happens with inflation for a working class family. We are trying to put food on the table. We're also trying to pay the bills. And we also have mortgage. We also have needs of our children. And now with school just starting, I think, at this moment, a lot of families continue to struggle. And I use the word struggle here carefully because I do see the struggles as I interact and engage with members of the communities in Senate District 40, talking to them when I'm knocking on doors, when they give me the opportunity. The struggle is real. We continue to struggle. Cost of things are not getting any cheaper. I think in one of my sessions, I did try to explain why inflation. Inflation, of course, means the value of our dollar is devalued. The purchasing power is no longer the same like 3-4 years ago. What $100 used to buy 3-4 years ago is no longer the case today. Inflation, of course, we have to be paying our car payments. We have to pay the utilities. We have to pay our mortgage and many other things. And we do see the stretch of our budget. We are personally trying to stretch our budget to make ends meet. That unfortunately, some families are living from paycheck to paycheck. And this is America in 2024. What can we do? I think this, the causes of inflation, the root causes of inflation comes from policies, economic policies that drive what's the engine of our economies. We're trying to improve our economies. And, if the economy is better, I think it also has implication on the cost of goods and services that you and I as a consumer is using every day, and also midterm and long-term needs that we have for our families. Inflation is on top of the priority, as I alluded to. Secondly, the second issue is law and order. Law and order has, evidently in not only in the conversations, but we do see a lot of the reports by counties, by commissions, of the law and order issues that are reflected in our own communities. The increasingly reported of cases to the police, also the fear that is instilled in ordinary, normal families in our neighborhoods, that we do have a sense of urgency to address and may have measures in place in order to feel more secure, feel safer. And I think this is very important, law and order. Who do we look to for help in terms of law and order? Usually we look to the law enforcement agencies. And so supporting the police, supporting the first responders will continue to be part of my platform and campaign, and in looking at resources, resourcing these institutions, these departments, to have the adequate measures, also tools and capacity to address these. Very important to keep the communities feel safe, feel secure, feel like we are in the United States of America. We are not in some far distant island somewhere where law and order is not so much as what we see here in the States, and also what we want to see in the next 4 or 5 years, that we are more secured in terms of our security. Immigration is a third issue that has popped up and becoming strongly advocated for or requested by voters, normal citizens that I speak with and engage with. And of course, we do see reports of the impact of the illegal immigration that we have here in Georgia. And let me just pull this up. There has been things that has been floating in the mail saying, welcome to Georgia, which is home to 514,000 illegal immigrants, and the number continues. 514 illegals in the state of Georgia alone. So what are the implications of this illegal immigrations? First, before I go to the implications, let me just say this. I'm an immigrant, and I am not anti-immigrant. I love to see immigrants coming to this country, to our country, but they come through the proper and the right way. I came through the right way. I filed for petition for a green card. My family waited and waited patiently for our green cards to come through. And we entered the United States of America through the proper way. We didn't come through an open border. Let's move on. What's the implications of illegal immigrants? Housing, healthcare, education, and many more in terms of the welfare of these people are being taken care of by the current government. Where some of our own people here are suffering, and as I mentioned, are really facing struggles in terms of making ends meet. So funds are diverted to cater for these illegal immigrants, whereas you and I, who came the right way as immigrants, or rightly so as Americans, born here, raised here in the United States and here in Georgia, are lacking some of these help and support. And so that is one of the things that is emerging. Immigration, inflation, law and order. These are three special high priority things in the campaign so far, whereas there's other related issues that I either have spoken about it some months before, or I will be speaking about these in the next Sundays with Amelia. What does it mean then in terms of all these issues? Inflation, law and order, and immigration. There is increased crime rates. There is, cases where we've seen that has incited violence. And we don't want to see America going that way, or see Georgia, or see our districts and our counties going that way, where there's no law and order, where there's increasing violence. And so we must do something. We must we must elevate these issues to the appropriate authorities, as well as looking, in the event I become your legislator, looking at possible potential legislations that will support these policies to come into place to hopefully help these issues. They are social economic issues that are implied in these three main issues, and they are interconnected and related. Our American values. Where are those American values today as we address many of these issues? We are losing a lot of those American values. We are losing our freedom, the liberty, the equality to do things the right way, to address some of these, the the deficiencies in terms of policies. You know, these are the things that we will need to focus and hone into in the event I become your legislator for Senate District 40. Let me just take one of the questions that came through. And the question is related to reproductive health services. I think this is the first time I get a question in this area regarding reproductive health services. And it says, how will you ensure that women in Georgia have access to comprehensive reproductive health services, including abortion, if the state restricts abortion to only the first 6 weeks of pregnancy? I think you've all heard the question clearly. And so let me just at the onset say, I am pro-life. I am a Christian, and I believe that God gives us the life, and we have a purpose and a will that he wants us to carry out in this planet as we live our lives here on earth. And in saying that, I value life, and I do see the importance of unpacking the abortion issues so that we better appreciate it from this light and this dimension, instead of it, you know, saying that the rules or the legislations are regulating and taking away women's rights from having the say in what they do with their body. I fully respect that. However, I think I also want to share that life is important. Life is a God-given life, and we need to look at it holistically. Access to abortion, firstly, is the same as it was before the heartbeat bill was passed. So nothing has changed there for the state of Georgia. Women can obtain an abortion up to the 6th week of their pregnancy. And none of Georgia's abortion centers have closed as a result of that bill. Yeah. Let me just quickly move on to the women's autonomy and rights. I believe in a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions within the framework of the law. And I believe that laws are enacted to safeguard, to protect our rights. They are pieces of legislation that has been thoroughly thought through for your safety and my safety, for your protection and my protection. There are many factors to be considered made when obtaining an abortion, including all of the health challenges. You know, there are health challenges, let's admit that, when one goes through an abortion. Even when one goes through the decision-making about abortion. Often there's depression, often there's premature birth in unwanted children. So I do advocate for true informed consent to women's healthcare decision, that it is made with all available information, including the adverse effects of an abortion decision. There are exceptions, of course, to abortion restrictions. While I support the exceptions for cases of rape and incest, I must say that very few of the 1 million abortions each year are because of rape and incest, according to the Guttmacher Institute. I also understand that true medical care includes assessing the risk to the mother's life and is not an exception in the traditional sense. So for listeners, I think I've answered that question. And if I do receive further questions on the issue of abortion, I'm very happy to address those in Sundays with Amelia, or even put something to my social media in terms of Facebook, which is a lot of people have been reading some of the Facebook issues that I put out, and they have come back with responses, either they agree or disagree. And I think this is healthy of having disagreements in a healthy manner, and also voicing your opinions and sharing and unpacking some of these issues, because they are very complicated and they must be explained thoroughly. I mentioned at the beginning of this evening's session that we do see the need to stand up for peace, stand up for asking people, asking our neighbors, asking our communities to stop hate crimes, to stop, all these unnecessary hateful comments or hateful actions that gives rise to a sad or depressed community and an unsafe, whereby some of our community members feel unsafe. I'd really like, in my platform in the long run, to be really looking at defending our freedom. That is the most God-given right to us, the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of, to do things that you desire to be. And I think at this day and age, we need to be seen as role models, as, encouraging our young people to grow up to be respectful citizens of our Constitution, respectful citizens of our American and Christian and godly values. If you believe in that, I think you can help me in something that I'm trying to develop and also to grow in my community, also in this Senate District 40, to grow good citizenship, because if we don't, sadly, we will continue to decline, as we see. Communities being split apart that I alluded to in the beginning, and I did mention a lot of those. I believe that we must treat everyone with equality. And to me, treat everyone equally. It's not about my color or your race, or whatever kind of lens that we use to look at these issues. I believe that I continue to reiterate, at the end of the day, we are Americans. We have shared values from our ancestors, but I do see that we are struggling to bring back those values into our families, bring back those values into our communities. And you and I have a role. We go to church on Sundays. Yes, some of us go to church on Sundays. We need to bring back those Christian values. I think, if we have to ask the people at the pulpit to preach these, they will continue to do these. But we don't want to see our country, our state, going down and further and further. November 5th is very close, and these are testing times for people here in Georgia. Georgia has been identified and been alluded to or referred to by many people that we will make history comes November 5th. And it depends on the way that you decide to vote. So my plea this evening is really, please do your research. Don't take it lightly that we need to hear, we need to understand who is genuine about making positive changes for the future of your children and my children, for the future of your grandchildren and my grandchildren. My platform is very visionary and really looking very futuristic, if we want to put it that way. I have concerns about what my grandchildren will be walking into in the next 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years. I'm not even looking at 10 years. I'm looking at the immediate future. And the way things are going, I am very, very concerned. And that is part of my why. Why am I running? Because I believe that I can offer so much from my experience, from also to give back to our state, which my family has benefited from. So I leave this with you tonight and this evening. I hope that you will continue to send me questions, and next Sunday, I will be happy to try and explain my position or respond to those questions that you give me. So in order to decide comes November 5th, you have to know more about what my platform means and how I will be working with you as an important part or formula for solutions at the state level in the near future, which is around January 2025. Please, as I mentioned, do your research, ask me questions, hear me out, and please have a relationship with me in terms of the work and the commitment that I'm making for Senate District 40. I am absolutely committed to Senate District 40 to serve you at the Gold Dome. And I look forward to hear from you and to continue this conversation. It's not just during campaign time. I am not going to disappear. I will continue, regardless of the outcome of November 5th, to work with Senate District 40 to build a healthy, a community that is going to thrive for the betterment of our children and our grandchildren. I thank you so much, and I hope to meet you as I come around and knock on your doors in the coming days and weeks. And feel free, look me up. My email is ameliaks4gasenate@gmail.com. And my platform, you can find that on my webpage, which is ameliaforgeorgia.com. I also have another link, which you can find on my Facebook page, which is more or less updating everyone of what's been going on, what I have been trying to do, who I've been talking to, and trying to engage with the community, engaging what is important, what matters to you. Comes 2025 January, we are ready to focus and hone into a few key strategic policies and legislations for Senate District 40. I wish you well in this coming new week, and look me up, and happy to receive your comments and words of empowerment, as well as questions and advice. Thank you so much for listening to me this evening. I wish you well. God bless.